Meeting to order. Call the roll.
Trustee Healy?
Here.
Trustee Katsinas?
Here.
Trustee Malani?
Here.
Trustee Compass?
Here.
Trustee Reardon?
Here.
Trustee Radishevsky?
Here.
Mayor Peacock?
Here.
Please rise for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the July 6, 2021 Committee of the Whole minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Katsinas.
I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Committee of the Whole of July 6, 2021.
Second.
Any changes? Call the roll.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Radishevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye.
Intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Orland Park and the Orland Fire Protection District concerning administrative adjudication approval.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani.
move to recommend to the Village Board to approve the intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Orland Park and Orland Fire Protection District concerning administrative adjudication, and I move to authorize the Village President to execute the agreement upon approval of the Board.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments on this?
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani.
is this something that they've used the Village services in the past, or is this something new?
So this is brand new. The village has a comprehensive municipal violation program adjudication, and in our ongoing cooperative efforts with the fire district, they had requested that they be part of that. They would write their own tickets. It would go through the process, and in exchange, 50% of any fines or fees collected would go to offset any of the additional costs.
Okay, so this was something they were doing on their own, and they just think this is more efficient?
So if they're not going through adjudication, they would have been going through circuit court, and this is a much better process considering everything that's going on in the courts.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, do you have any idea approximately how many they have of these a year? I mean, is it hundreds? Is it 5 to 10 per month?
Very minimal impact or any.
Okay. And is it businesses mostly? Is it homeowners? I mean,
Mostly businesses.
okay.
Any other questions? Call the roll.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Radishevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye.
The Orland Park Police Department's Therapy Dog Program, discussion and consideration.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Compass.
I move to recommend to the Village Board to approve the Orland Park Police Department's Therapy Dog Program.
Second.
Can we see the PowerPoint?
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, the Orland Park Police Department's greatest asset is its employees. At times, our employees see some very nasty things out here in Orland Park and surrounding areas. This program is a very progressive program that we're looking to institute immediately in the Orland Park Police Department. So why? Our first responders, based on this therapy dog program through studies, they help us decrease anxiety. They help reduce symptoms of PTSD, increase in undisturbed sleeping, produce social interaction, stimulate cognitive responses. By having a dog available for our staff, we believe that it'll be beneficial, reduce stress during critical incidents. So here's some of the things that we do on an annual basis. We deal with a lot of deaths here in Orland Park. Older community, we deal with death investigations from suicides, to standard death of responses, but that's not the only thing we do. We respond to critical incidents from robberies to domestic violence to child abuse to situations like that we believe this therapy dog would be a great asset for the department. Another issue that we're seeing is an increase in the number of mental health calls. Currently, this 42.1% increase started July. We're at over 50% increase number of calls we're responding to for mental health. potential for a dog to respond there to help reduce the anxiety of people that we're dealing with. When we respond to scenes, people generally are afraid of the police or they don't like the police. Having a dog there speaking to some people while we're conducting interviews may help us reduce that anxiety and get more information. Another reason why is for children. We have children coming into the Orland Park Police Department almost on an annual or daily basis, to say. Reduce anxiety and anger, increase communication, provide social interactions, positive mood stabilizer, stimulates cognitive response, and build relationships with the police officers. We've got people from here from child abuse situations. Here's a number of child victims per year that we've seen. Having them come to the station in a soft interview room, having a dog available there to help reduce their anxiety helps us derive more information to potentially obtain information that we can go ahead and prosecute cases better. On top of that, we have people, unfortunately, that commit crimes in Orland Park and have their children with them. We're tasked with babysitting those children while waiting for another parent or DCFS or somebody else to come there and pick those children up. By having a dog here can help reduce that anxiety. So our concept is a firehouse dog. That dog would remain at the police department. The fire department does one thing great. They have firehouse dogs. They've had them for many years. We're looking to do the same thing because the concept is we're working 24/7 at that police department. Having that dog available 24/7 for our dispatchers, for our people on midnight shift would pay dividends. We currently have facilities in place for a therapy dog. We can assign the staff to feed and walk the dog, and we do about on average about 65 community events per year that can qualify to have the dog there. Be kind of a mascot. So where would this take place? It's a county sheriff-run program in Florida, Cocoa, Florida. It's a non-kill shelter. You get a shelter dog, and the dogs are actually trained by people that are sentenced to jail here. Furthermore, it's a 40-hour training class. The cost? It's free. It's free. With the exception of $100 for a therapy dog certification. For us to send a staff member down there, obviously costs for lodging and housing and food, but we already got $5,000 in pledge donations already from an anonymous source, a requested Orland Park citizen, as well as our law enforcement organization here in Orland Park. Here's the program right here. They have an opening in September of this year. For 1 week, we can send an officer or a civilian from the department to go down there and learn a little bit about the therapy, take the training course, and bring the dog home. So September 13th through the 17th, the department can choose the size of the adopted therapy dog, and currently they have about 6 Labradors to choose from. Any questions?
Any comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Chief Mitchell, I think this is an excellent program. I'm really excited to hear more about it. I do have a couple of questions. So you said you were going to get a Labrador. I think they're excellent dogs. Does anybody at the police department currently, would you know if they have allergies? Would be my only
there's a
concern.
possibility. We'll just have to keep them away from the dog. We have officers responding to calls for scenes all the time when they have animals there. We'll just keep the dog away the best we can if we do. But I'm not aware of any at this moment in time. Okay. Great question.
And do you have a volunteer who, you said you had a volunteer who's going to, help walk and take care of the dog. Who was going to be going down there and doing the training? Has that been assigned or talked about yet?
It's not been assigned yet. I'm looking for board approval to proceed with this thing. At that point, then I will choose somebody.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Malani.
I'd just like to say I think this is a great service for our officers and for our residents as well, and I really appreciate the Orland Park Law Enforcement Organization and the Anonymous Citizen for their pledges and donations. I think this will go a long way, and it sounds like it's going to be a great program. So.
I think it's a win-win-win. 3 wins. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Trustee Reardon.
One sounds great, 2 might even be better. See how it goes and maybe get another one. But I think if you advertise probably isn't the right word, but promote the fact, I think if there are other costs, I think you'll be able to, a lot of people will be interested in supporting the cost of that once you start doing it. So I think it's a great idea.
Thank you. I agree with you.
I agree.
Any other comments? Yeah, Chief, I think it's a great program. It's got to be tough for you to come up here and say something about that you're adopting something from the firehouse. And I just want to know that every 4 years or so, if I can come down there and see the therapy dog for a few months.
We'll all need it.
Penciling in now, Mayor.
Right after April?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, about January through beginning of April. Call the roll.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Pika?
Aye.
Axon body and fleet camera purchase.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani.
move to recommend to the Village Board to approve the use of Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Contract number 010720-AXN and recommend approving the contract with Axon for body-worn and fleet camera purchase for a total of 5-year cost of $974,999.99, which corresponds to $189,025.91 in year 1 and $196,493.52 in years 2 and through 5, and recommend authorizing the village manager to execute all related contracts subject to village attorney review.
Second.
Chief, could we see the...
We'll move through this quickly for you. So we did a field study the first quarter of 2021. I will tell you that I've got 100% backing by the unions on this. They want the body-worn camera program. They think it's going to be beneficial not only for the citizens, for prosecution, but more importantly for the officers. Right now, our in-car video camera system clears our officers 97% of the time on complaints. 97%, and the other 3% are a professional standards. They may have said something they shouldn't have said inappropriately. No excessive use of force situations. They're excited about this program because when they step out of their car and they have that camera on, and they're away from that squad car, they know they're going to be protected. They know they're going to be protected. So some of the benefits, they have numerous benefits including transparency, improving the citizen behavior, along with decreasing use of force complaints. Provide additional evidence for arrest and court prosecution. In Cook County, if it ain't on video, it's tough to prosecute. Body-worn cameras can improve officer behavior when interacting with citizens. They also be used for training purposes to determine deficiencies that we see out on the street, which has happened. And by the way, the body-worn camera is now mandated by the House Bill 3653. So we technically don't have to get it to 2024, but I strongly encourage that we get it sooner than 2024. It is time that Orland Park has a body-worn camera program. Protect our officers, protect us from vicarious liability and undue liability. So this is what House Bill 3443 says, the trailer bill. We now can utilize our body-worn camera to write a report. We can view that. There's some exceptions. Use of force, officer-involved shooting, great bodily harm. The officer cannot initially see the video. He's got to write a report, and then after that, he can write a supplemental report based on the video review. Not an end-all be-all, but it works to our favor. Proves language. It's no longer a felony if we violate village department policy. Very, very important. The only time we have a felony is if you have an intentional reason to erase something for evidence for prosecution. So look at these three vendors that we looked at, Axon, Panasonic, and WatchGuard, which is owned by Motorola. Those are the first quarter of 2021. Extensive use. We put them through everything. Here's Axon. It's a large activation button. Jake Sheedy here from Axon is here. He's going to provide you a little show and tell of the product here shortly. Audible and physical reminders of the officers that the camera is on, which is very critical. In a critical incident, sometimes audio exclusion, you see that vibration on your chest that tells you the camera's on, which is very, very critical. Easy to download the videos from the camera. You're able to prioritize what videos are updated first. The camera is able to charge the vehicle via a USB port. And numerous mounting capabilities. We put them through all these different type of mountings. We wrestled with people, see how that camera would fall off. It stayed secure. Cloud storage off-site, which has been outstanding. Evidence.com, I can't tell you more great things about Evidence.com. That is the ability for the state's attorney now to access this through a website, a porthole, to get all our videos. We don't have to now burn them on a CD and send them to court. The defense attorneys now have the ability to access that and see that video quickly. No discovery issues, right there available for them. Able to activate live stream from a specific camera, very, very critical. We have a critical incident out here, God forbid. I can now go on my smartphone and pull up and see what that officer's seeing through that camera. On top of that, when he's away from the car, I can find out where he is. We've had some situations out here where our officers were all over the place. We have no idea where they're at, and because of the radio traffic, we may not be able to get on the radio. I can now access that through my phone and find out exactly where my officers are at all times. Proprietary technology which automatically activates the camera when the taser duty weapon is pulled from the holster. Very, very critical. We have a situation, we go to 7-Eleven, and the mayor talked about this. He's in there having a cup of coffee, and suddenly an armed robbery occurs. That officer pulls out his weapon. He doesn't have to worry about touching the body-worn camera. It automatically activates. Or the taser. Very, very critical. And Axon will send out its technicians to remove all old cameras and install new ones at zero cost. The cons. With any con, the camera needs to be charged at every shift. And playback can only be done when the camera is connected to the police department's network. Okay? Here's the Panasonic Pros. Video audio quality better than Motorola, but not as good as Axon. And a secure mounting system. Power switch located in the back of the unit is very difficult for us to turn on. No audio or visual signals that it's on. Causes a problem during a critical incident. No audio or very small visual signal advising the user the camera is already on. And the battery life dropped to 10% during an 8-hour shift. We can't have that. If we have an officer out standing somewhere for 8 hours, that camera's got to be able to be operating. You may not have an opportunity to go back and have it charged. Small activation button, difficult to activate during a stressful or non-stressful event. Very, very critical. They're working on the process of having auto activation, but they don't have it yet. They want us to be a beta site. I'm not in the business of being beta sites. I need something that works each and every time, especially in Cook County. Motorola, their Pro, which not technically is a Pro, they have an automatic playback, meaning for 48 hours you can look at the video without having to activate it. Here's the problem with that, there's privacy issues. I go use the bathroom, my camera's always on. I walk through the locker room, people are taking showers, that camera's always on. So it never technically shuts off, and the issue is that it's never, if you don't have it personally activated, you're not capturing sound, and sound is very critical in case law to warn people to drop a gun, drop a knife. And now that you didn't activate because you, middle of a critical incident on 7-Eleven, you didn't hit that button, you're not getting that audio. Poor mounting system, low video quality is very bad. Small activation button. Evidence library, which is kind of their evidence.com, was difficult to navigate for our officers. I need to make sure it works well. Cook County does not utilize this particular evidence.com. Back-end climb for uploading and reviewing was not user-friendly, difficult to navigate. We also need to have some additional hotspots placed at the police department to download our videos. And we're unable to place evidentiary pictures in their system. With Axon, smart unit, I now could take pictures with my department phone. We can download it right into the evidence.com. Critical. Fragile, outside it's raining, you got blood there, you may want to take some pictures before it dissipates. Get that camera out and take those photos, not having to wait for an ET to arrive with a camera. Very, very critical. Digital camera. So here's the pricing. We want 116 body-worn cameras. Why is that? It's the number of officers we have in the police department. I need a camera for every officer. We have another civil unrest situation. Knowing our law, Murphy's Law, the guy that doesn't have the camera is the one that we have a problem with, right? 44 in-car cameras, unlimited storage. Why do we want unlimited storage? Very simple. We want, like the mayor said, we want the truth to come out. We want the highest resolution that we possibly could have at all times. Some of these other ones, not unlimited, you got to drop it down to 720 or below. You're not getting that clear, concise picture. We need to have that clear, concise picture. On top of that, by that, we can use the full capacity of the system. We can have officers taking pictures on scene of evidence. We don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, we're almost out of storage, don't take that photo. On top of that, I don't have to have my street ETs constantly coming out with digital cameras taking photos. The 12 Pros that we have an outstanding camera. We can take the pictures right there. Save me time. And on top of that, I don't have to have that digital camera come back, download it onto a disk, and put it in evidence. It's all right there off the phone. Saves time and money. So here's the cost. Axon, Jake, I beat you up there, buddy. I'm sorry. I beat you up hard there. The cost, we dropped it down from $1.28 million to $97.4 million. WatchGuard was at $74.5 million. Again, not the product we want. Unanimous decision, it was on Axon, and the Panasonic was at 1.2. Heavy investment, but necessary. And you can talk about legislation, you can talk about civil lawsuits. They're very, very expensive. Having the ability to have a body-worn camera helps. So we'll continue to look. We're aggressive in trying to find some funding through grants. We currently have not found one yet, but we'll continue to move in that direction. The Bureau of Justice Assistance typically puts out grants on an annual basis. We'll continue to look that way. We did receive about $21,000 in donations from 17 donors. They're going to help us offset that cost. Again, unanimous decision by all staff. True reason why is because the body-worn camera trigger activation on the video, automatic. The evidence.com sold us, and the ability to stream and the GPS systems were outstanding. So those were the reasons why we had it. Jake, can you step up and give us just a little synopsis, maybe? Great.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. So this is a body camera, Axon Body 3. So this is the current body camera, Axon Body 3. You'll see here it's flashing green lights, so this is when it's set in that buffering state. So throughout the normal shift, it's going to be on the chest, green light flashing. Also on the top of this camera, there's a visual LED screen showing the officers this is ready to go, but not recording. And so just kind of that extra feedback. Taser here, inert cartridges. But just wanted to show that activation. So manual activation of this camera is going to be a double click. You'll see lights turn red. Top of the screen shows a video symbol showing it's recording, letting the officer know. Very different. And then when you turn it off, it's going to be a 3 to 5 second hold. Camera vibrates again in my hand, goes back to green. So automatic activation signals, we talked about holsters, tasers, and also vehicle signal units. This taser, all I have to do is turn on that taser. Taser is now on, camera turns on. So automatic activation capabilities. This activation, it's a Bluetooth signal that basically emits a Bluetooth signal in a 30-foot radius for 30 seconds. And that's going to activate any camera within that radius. So it's not a one-to-one camera. So there's 5 officers on scene, 5 or 6 officers. The situation escalates, someone has to pull out a taser or whatnot. All cameras in that scene, especially even the in-car cameras, everything's turning on. And that's basically a signal that an extra signal will not turn that off. All that does is a signal that's letting this camera know situation is arising. These cameras need to be recording for that evidence to be taken care of. One other key factor I will show as well, I'll turn this back on. If we can go to the website, and then if we can click the respond button at the top, right there, click confirm. So this is going to be the live GPS and streaming capabilities within the camera. So we've got a live map. If you can click the recordings button, it'll show that there's 2 cameras currently recording. And then this is my camera, Jake Sheedy. If you click that live stream, you can kind of move that box down a little bit. That's going to be a live stream currently of this camera in real time. Command staff has the ability to hop into up to 20 live streams on this screen. So if there's multiple officers at this incident, they can pull up all these screens on, see a full situation, dynamic, all the point of views, give real-time feedback, so that way they know what's going on. From an officer perspective, the red light flashing on the top turns purple. The live is now underneath the camera, letting the officer know, I'm being live streamed, I have extra support on my end. This camera turns off, situation ends, that stream will go away. Any additional questions on just kind of the activation or GPS capabilities?
Does the board have any comments or questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Compass.
So I've looked over all these proposals, and I think this is an excellent idea overall. I heard a new feature tonight. I didn't know that all the cameras turned on activation. I think that's outstanding, and I'm sure there's many new features we're going to learn about it over time with this product. This is very prudent for protecting individuals on both sides of the camera, both the officers and the citizens with which they're interacting with, and we'll get to the truth a whole lot faster with this video evidence. I also see great future potential in this as a training tool. I think the live feed is outstanding. I think when you've got officers out remote and needing a supervisor advice, you've got instant access. That's not something that we can do today, and that's very powerful in and of itself. I do want to clarify, and I know the chief already mentioned this, but we were down this path of getting these body-worn cameras long before HB 3653 was a thing. That bill slowed us down, unfortunately, because of the language that they had put in there, which made it extremely restrictive for us. And at that time, we'd said we weren't going to look at it until they either changed the language or we got to the absolutely end date of the mandate. So thankfully, Springfield heard us and changed, and not just us, but many others, and adjusting the unnecessary language in that bill so that we can move forward on this. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Axon. I think this is outstanding.
Mr. Mayor?
Healy.
Chief, do you expect more FOIAs of this information? And what's the effect on the back office?
So we do expect some more FOIAs. We went, with the village manager's direction, we went to a Brazos system that's going to help us relieve some of the man hours on double inputting our tickets. So we're going to free up some staff to help us address those concerns, okay? So that's what we're looking at as far as that. Your other question was?
The staff considerations, is it going to be more cost to respond to FOIAs or whatever? It's hard to say.
It's going to be kind of, I think it's going to be a wash because we're double inputting tickets now into two separate systems. Depending on an issue, you're probably going to get some, but we have the redaction software here through Axon that allows us to more effectively blur out phases and stuff. So a little bit of a learning curve, but I think long term we will save money.
All right, thanks.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Radiszewski.
I have actually two questions. So one is I like the the taser and how everything it goes on all kind of simultaneously. My concern is just sometimes technology doesn't work the way that we want it to, the way it's supposed to, and I'm sure the system, is excellent. What is like the success failure ratio to that?
So from my numbers, I haven't heard of a story where we've had failed activation, and also with that, so the taser signal is an activation. We have an activation signal for the holsters for if a gun breaks leather, and then we also have signal technology in the vehicles for anytime light bar, speed, crash, gun lock, or canine triggers are hit. So with that many triggers as an option, if for some reason one were to not activate, but another one then got signaled, those signals will be constantly going for those 30 seconds every time it goes. So if there's a failed activation, maybe the second one will turn it on. And then also with activation, there's a pre-event buffer with each camera as well that upon activation will pull video from 30 seconds up to 2 minutes prior of that activation. So kind of combats that issue a little bit as well.
Thank you. My second question is, you said that with the live stream that everybody could be looking at that. Like, who is everybody? Who would have access to that camera remotely?
So that will be chosen by the department.
Typically commanders or watch commander that are there, they can obviously view that. So our lieutenants and our command level would have access to the ability to stream that, live stream that.
Okay. Thank you.
It's the commanders.
Mr. Mayor.
Trustee Reardon.
Yeah, I think the narrative gets lost a lot by media that the police departments don't want this. And I think your comments in the very beginning were so true. My experience has been working with Cook County and the jail system for about 15 years. This by far helps the officer more than, causes it. And I think the narrative gets out there in social media and by the media that they're trying to fight this, that they don't want this for some reason, that they're trying to hide something, and it couldn't be farther from the truth. And I think you got a great product here, and I think, like Sean said, or Trustee Campus said, we were out ahead of this before, and it's great to see that we're able to move forward. So,
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Malani.
Just a quick question. I mean, it's technology. Technology has a lifespan, and I saw the 3-year. Is that like a replacement plan? Every 3 years, these would be replaced just to new technology coming in, and they kind of wear out over time. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the agreement every time.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I thank you for the opportunity, and I appreciate consideration for this very, I know it's a very expensive investment, but I think long-term it'd be worthwhile.
Thank you, Chief. And my comments on this before the vote is thank you for all the citizens. Thank you for the board that pushed against HB 3653, and then once it was passed, pushed to get it changed so that we could get this implemented. Because as this was pointed out, we were ready to do this until they put that in and put our officers at risk. Also, the live stream, to put it in layman's terms for everyone here on the board, is you think of the incident we had last year, the first Sunday in June, when we had the riots and looting, and we ended up to the north in Chicago, and then it spread down here, and we had all hands on deck called out, and we had every retail center shut down. And we were sitting in the command center, and you hear an incident on the radio, and there's all kinds of radio chatter trying to figure out what's going on. That live stream would have cut down probably, 75–80% of that radio chatter, so you could actually had critical radio chatter instead, and you could have seen what was happening so that the command staff would have known, do we need to redirect anyone over there? Does it seem like it's under control? All of that would have been handled much more efficiently with much less radio chatter. So very important in those circumstances. So it'd be very, very helpful for our command staff to understand what's happening in an incident. I imagine it would have also been very helpful with the mall incident when there's just so much uncertainty about what's happening, to actually know what our officers are seeing when they're in there. So that's great. Also, point out that when I flew, they always told us, just remember, everything you've got is made by the low bidder. Well, I'm in a position now where I don't have to choose the low bidder, and I can choose the best bidder so that our officers have the best equipment. So that's what we want to do. So thanks for doing such a thorough review of everything. Call the roll.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Campus?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye.
Silver Lake West Water Main Replacement Phase 1 and 82nd Avenue lining bid.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Reardon.
I move to recommend to the Village Board of Trustees to accept the bid from Austin Tyler of Elwood, Illinois, not to exceed $2,616,904.08. Plus $2,492,289.60 plus $124,614.48 contingency.
Second?
Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Malani.
In one of our recent meetings, I think it was Committee of the Whole and the board meeting, a resident brought concerns about adequate protection around the work areas in the subdivision. Are we going to assure that, with this large of a project going on as well, we'll make sure that the changes that we made carry over into that project?
Yes.
And we didn't make any changes. We had a storm that took a lot of stuff down, and we just made the contractor go put it back up. So there weren't changes made. So just want to be clear on that.
Okay.
Thanks.
Is there a PowerPoint on this? Is that?
Yeah, if you want, if you want to know a little bit about the project, it's only 2 slides.
Sure. Okay. It's only 2 slides. It's not 20, like it says there.
Well, I have to follow topics beyond.
Okay, good. All right, 2 slides is good. 20 would not be.
They're in sequence. Board, just a little bit about the project. Silver Lake West Subdivision was developed in the late 70s and into the 80s. It was made out of, the water mains were cast iron, which we really don't use that anymore. Ductile iron is what we use nowadays with a polyvinyl wrap. This helps the pipe becomes very conductive and it deteriorates with corrosion over time. And by having that poly wrap around it, it extends the life of the pipe, which this neighborhood does not have. So over those 40 years, we've had many breaks because of the corrosion in the subdivision. Also, this area, is a little bit older, and so remodels are occurring, and additions maybe be added to those houses, and so the size of the pipe won't suffice to those additions, additional bathroom or other things that happened at the house. So we're recommending to actually replace this pipe with this project and also increase the size of the pipe in Silver Lake West. Also, there's a small section along 82nd Avenue that we are going to be lining the pipe. It's actually, the lining is inserted into the pipe and it's heated and expanded, and then it becomes a very hard polyurethane kind of in that pipe. And so this is because in this section we've received a lot of water main breaks, and for some reason this pipe and it has needs replacement. But because it has no service connections, and also because we're not really increasing the size, the lining is more cost effective for the village. And so the lining is recommended for this section. And I just have a quick orientation where this is at. The Silver Lake West subdivision is just east of the Orland Mall there. And it's actually, there's two phases because of the size of the subdivision. So we'll do the first phase this year, and then our plan is to do phase 2 next year, which is not part of this contract. And then the 82nd is up on the upper right area. And then we always coordinate with our road paving project. It doesn't make sense to dig up a road and a brand new road, so our paving project will follow right behind, and our plan would be doing that in 2020 as well, if that's approved in the budget. That's overall.
Any questions or comments? Call roll.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye. And George, I really appreciate you putting all the contracts in there. Could we still keep the summary table? We dumped the summary table and put all the contracts in. If we could still have the summary table, that makes it a lot easier for us to track where we want to look at stuff.
Learning curve.
Yep. Well, I mentioned it.
Yep.
Road Improvement Program update?
So who's got the road improvement up? Back to you, Joel.
It's the Joel show for a little bit here.
Before I start, I would just like to introduce Chris Workus from Austin Tyler. He's in the yellow shirt, good construction shirt there, and he's in the audience from Austin Tyler. Here's a quick update on the road project. I'd just like to start off by saying this road program is the most aggressive we've ever done for many, many years, probably largest ever. So it's $6.2 million for the scope that was approved earlier in the year. It's using village funds as well as Rebuild Illinois funds. So this helps, so we're not, it's not all village funds. And lastly, we are on schedule to complete. Actually, we believe before November 15, but that's the contract completion date, and we're progressing very well on this very large program. Each of these sections of the village are under different sections of the process, I would call. If you see the green circles are areas that I do have some follow-ons, just a few slides for some photos so that you can see those. But the green areas are really waiting for striping. Austin Tyler is involved with that, and any few punch list items in those areas. The red areas are further along. and they have got most of the concrete work. This is for ADA ramps in the neighborhoods, but also the street sidewalks and the street curbs for concrete work, and those areas have the tree trimming done in the neighborhoods. So the red is getting ready, or is area 5, sorry, on the very far middle. Sorry, it's a little bit middle area of that 5. That actually has the first course down, and they're going to be placing the asphalt on Wednesday to get the top course finished in that. That's Summer Glen neighborhood. The concrete crew is always in front of the asphalt crews, and so the concrete crews are now in area 10, which is the yellow box, and they are finishing up in that neighborhood this week for concrete work. The Baxter Woodman is our AD, and they do all the pre-markings of what has to be replaced. So they're in front of Austin Tyler, completing all the markings, and that's the purple circles there. And as those get ready to be, the concrete crews come in, the tree trimming crew comes in. So it's this sequence of operations throughout several neighborhoods, and therefore, obviously, there is a lot of areas working all at the same time. Unfortunately, we do get affected by the weather. We do want good weeks like this week, where there's no rain, so that we can place asphalt down. They need dry areas. They need the areas so they can place the asphalt. The last section is really what we call phase 2, and that is the blue areas. So we'll be getting in those neighborhoods once they're done with the purple. So just quick overview of a couple of photos. This is kind of completed sections where the asphalt's been placed, just need the final markings, but you can also see some of the concrete work at the intersections and the transitions for ADA areas. This is the top one is that Summer Glen where we'll place the last layer of asphalt, and also bottom left. And then the one on the right is area 11, and that area would just be a milling of the old. All the concrete work is finished. Here's some photos of where the concrete work has been completed in Fairway. This is our last section of Fairway. We've been in Fairway for multiple years, and we're finally going to wrap up this section of Fairway. We did some water replacements, and that's why we followed that up with the road program. And then you can see Orland Apartments on the bottom right. This has been one of our most challenging areas. Obviously, the road is very tight with all the parking with the cars. So Austin Tyler actually pulled out of a little bit out of the Gulf View ones you'll see next to get back in here to make sure those driveways were completed so the cars can get back into the parking lot areas, because otherwise the cars are on the street, which impacts the waste management. You know, it's a ripple effect where waste management's trying to get their trucks through the neighborhoods, and sometimes they couldn't, and we've been coordinating with waste management to let them know the progress. But we're happy to say that the concrete work is finished so they can go back into the parking lots, and then we'll disrupt them one last time when we're doing the asphalt piece. And then here's Gulfview West. I know we had an individual last time that came in, and this is his section of area, and you can see some of that concrete work going on in his area. And we should be wrapped up this week on that concrete work. And lastly, we just kind of show you those safety measures that we do apply. You've seen them a lot of times in the slides. We use cones, the barrels for the actual curb areas for the cars, so they see that, and then the type 2 barriers that we apply generally with the sidewalks. And so that there was some of the coming loose a little bit, so we put Austin Tyler did a good job to come back in there and just make sure all that is. And that was all previously to the last board meeting, actually. So all that work was done once they were notified. So that's it for this presentation. Any questions?
So one thing I want to point out to everybody is that this is a process. And so I've had a lot of people calling and complaining this isn't done fast enough, that isn't done fast enough. So my first comment is your roads are getting done. Okay, so you have to keep some perspective here. We have a short construction season. It's impacted by rain. We get a rainstorm, for 5 straight days and dumps 5 inches. We're not probably coming out there for a couple weeks because the ground's soft, can't pour concrete, can't do asphalt. There's a lot of stuff you can't do. Okay, we're going to do what we can do, but we can't do everything. And it is a process. And the process, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm going to kind of, if I miss anything major, but we start with pulling out the concrete. That's bad, right? We have to frame all of that concrete, okay? And then we're going to be trimming trees and then pouring concrete. Okay? At the same time, if there's any sewer issues or sewer manhole stuff, we're fixing that too, so that we don't have problems with that when we put new asphalt in, right? And so then once that's all done, then the concrete has to cure some, and then we mill the asphalt. Correct. Right? And then we put down an initial layer of asphalt, but the final layer doesn't go down until sometime after that, and then we go out and handle all the punch list items, or the striping, and then all the punch list items. So if you think about all of those steps that have to be done, and it gets marked at the beginning. All that's done by different crews, different people, and we have a big village. At the same time, as we're doing these 14 areas, any areas that are nearby that maybe need an asphalt patch I know my neighborhood needed like 5% of the asphalt needed to be patched, which doesn't require redoing the whole streets, but we had big square sections that were completely redone, and they were filled with potholes. We were fixing them every year, so now we're not going to have to fix them every year. They also fixed a couple of curbs, they also fixed a couple of sidewalks, and that's going on in all those neighborhoods at the same time. So it's a very big program, okay? So the option is be patient, or you can complain about it. It's not going to make the process go any faster. If we miss something, or if things blow down, please let us know, because we may not see it, and we'd be happy to go out and put those barriers back up. And in this case, where those complaints came, we had a major storm come through, and not only did it take down some barriers, I know for a fact it took down about a 42-inch oak tree. At the golf course I play regularly, and just ripped it right out of the ground. So it was a pretty significant storm. So be patient. It takes time. It takes months to do what I just said in one neighborhood. And we got 14 going on, and they're all being done, and they're in different phases. So just keep that in mind. We have a whole season to get it all done, and then your roads are going to look great. So and your roads are going to be done. And then there's going to be 80% of the rest of the town's going to be complaining why your roads look good and theirs doesn't. So, just be patient. And we also choose those roads, it's a question that's asked all the time, we choose those roads based on a scoring system. We go out and grade all the roads, and we did that in 2018, and we rank 246 different areas of the village, road areas. And then the ones that are in the worst shape are the ones we do. Once in a while something else gets slipped in there because it happens to be close to something else that's being done. So, if you have 2 subdivisions or 2 areas that are really close to one another, and there was one in between that maybe is 4 years out, well, you might as well do them all at once because it's more efficient. So we factor all of that in, and I think next year or the year after? Next year we're going to test, we're going to grade all the roads again and reevaluate, because some roads will move up and down on that list. So, and keep in mind that with this board, the people on this board, the 3 that have been here for 2 years, we advanced this program. Right now we'd be in year 2021. We're in like year 2025-ish because of the 2024, 2025 because of the additional investment we're making on the road. So I think that's just important for everyone to know. Thanks a lot, Joel.
Thank you.
Playground renovation project update.
Back to you, Joel.
Back to me. All right.
It's all your fault this meeting's running long.
Try to keep it shorter. But some folks may not know a little bit of this, so there may be some repetition a little bit about the background of our playgrounds. We do have 56 playgrounds in 65 parks and facility sites. We did look at the benchmarking and comparison against other local park agencies, and from the village perspective, we have 1 playground for every 1,000 residents versus the performance reviews recommended 1 for 3,800, so it's almost 3 times as many. So that's good news for our residents. More work for us, though, to keep those maintained. Typical lifespan of the playgrounds are roughly 10 to 15 years. With the board's help, I would say that's why we increased the number of playgrounds to renovate, because our average age was up to about 19 years. We also do care about the safety standards from whenever we talk about playgrounds, and we do have our certified playground inspector who does check that so on a monthly basis, and then any hazards are addressed immediately for the kids playing. Just some more history. We did our assessment just like we did a road in 2019. In 2020, we did 7 playgrounds, and so we looked at what we approached. It was a little bit more of a spread out effect to with those ones that are worse condition. And I just want to highlight that we broke them apart to do half and half, just to get more parks having some improvements. In 2021, we went ahead and completed the other half of many of those playgrounds, but we probably wouldn't do that half and half, in the future. I think our recommendation is do more complete playgrounds, and so we did Catchy, Ishnella Woods, and Marley Creek actually this year, in addition to the other half playgrounds. Got a quick visual representation again. The yellow is the half and half. The greens are the full. Red, there was one done completely in 2020 in Pulte Park. Just a little bit off. So we do try to get the public notification out to the residents. So we send out all kinds of letters to get some input for around those parks. Then we also had the Rec Advisory Committee where they could come in and give their recommendations and their input to our program. We put signs in the parks too, so folks knew that they should attend the meetings. We put it on our webpage as well, so that everybody get a chance to provide some input. The Rec Advisory meeting was held in May on the 4th. We presented 2 options. Got some inputs, made some tweaks here and there, and then we brought the final decision to the board on the 17th of May, where came to the committee and the board, and where we were awarded the project. I just showed 2 images. I wasn't going to include all of them there. That would be here for even longer. But there is an image of Catchy Park that was presented, and Discovery Park. So it was a complete playground equipment, wood fiber mulch, edge constraints, and ADA improvements and site improvements. That's a little bit about the background. This is a quick update on where we're at. Actually, I updated this morning because we just finished up a couple of them this past week. So Catchy, Bill Young, Spring Creek, and Wedgewood Estates and Camino Real are complete. Village Square and Marley Creek are starting this week. And this is going very good and very fast. I want to also note that this does not include the pavilions. Pavilions were coming down the pike here later in the fall. Just different material, longer lead item on materials right now because of the metal.
It also doesn't include resurfacing, right?
Does not include resurfacing any ball, like basketball courts or tennis courts and so forth. And usually after the pavilions are done, we do picnic benches as well after that. And picnic tables, I guess, right? So those are the last. We should be wrapping up end of August with Ishnella Woods. And I just got 2 slides of some photos. This is a little dark, but these are what's been installed so far at some of the parks. And this is Catchy. And then we got Bill Young and some of the other ones installed. That's it for the update. Any questions?
So I'd like to point out, this is something the new board, pushed for. We're doing things a much different way than we did in the past. On average, dating back to 2000, we were fixing 1 park every 2 years. Well, with 56 parks, that's 112 years to get through them all. Obviously, that's not going to work, especially with the average, replacement of 15. I think we'll be a little bit like maybe 6 generations behind, 6 or 7. So we changed the way we're doing things. We did the half and half. I think in total, we're getting 10 parks completely rebuilt in 2 years, as opposed to 1. So I think that's a much better pace, and we're doing things in a different manner. We're also going out to the Rec Advisory Board. We're putting all those notices to people. There's signs. If you are a user of the park, you can't miss those signs. So if you want input to the park, that's why we have all those meetings. So there's a lot of opportunity for the public to comment, and comments after the fact when we've had all of this work done and all of the opportunities to speak. Well, we hear you. At the end of the day, we have to make decisions, and there's a reason why we want input before we make those decisions, because anything that we go back and redo is somebody else that doesn't get their part done, and that shouldn't happen just because of if somebody decides that they're not going to get involved, or they're going to get involved after the fact. So we do have these meetings for a reason. So I encourage people to attend those meetings, and there's three bites at the apple, at least 3 bites at the apple. Sometimes there's been more when something gets held over to another meeting or gets delayed for whatever reason. So I encourage people to come out and give us that input, because we want it. But after the fact, it's when you've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix something and give you a new park, that's too late, especially when we've given you multiple opportunities to come speak.
151st Street, Ravinia to West Avenue roadway improvements project update.
Thank you, Mayor and trustees. This is an update on our project and a little bit of discussion on the funding as well. Come on. My first slide, I just moved up and I could not go back to it. Oh boy. You're talking about, right? No, it's not going. Okay, that first picture is not coming up, but I'll just talk about it. The project is from Ravinia Avenue to West Avenue. Ravinia Avenue and Ravinia Avenue and 151st is the major improvement, where we will have updated traffic signals. Then those traffic signals will be mounted on the mast arms. Currently, they were on wires and wood poles, so that's a significant improvement. The approach from 151st will have 5 lanes, 2 lanes in each way with a left turn lane, as well as we are adding a northbound right turn lane on Ravinia Avenue that will release a lot of right turn traffic that gets stuck behind the through traffic. So those are some of the details that I was going to show you on a picture. But other than that, those were the project elements that are covered by IDOT or the funding that we received. These are the elements that some of them, you see the water main work, that is totally village cost that we paid as part of the improvement. So we improved the water main as well as sewer. Before the project started, we had ditches on both sides. We closed those ditches now, and they are now underground sewer system. We received a maximum of $2 million that a project from STP we can get. We got the maximum amount of $2 million for roadway work, and then we got a separate $680,000 for the roundabout at 151st and West Avenue. All other costs, those are mostly the 20% that we match any of the federal funds, as well as the water main, sewer, sidewalk, ADA improvements. Those were the costs that the village had to pay for it. So in that case, our cost to IDOT would be $2.55 million. This is an IDOT project. They signed a contract for $4.65 million with PT Farrell. But during the project, like I said, there are a few other elements that were added to the project due to unknown conditions, such as somewhat contaminated soil that we had to deal with. So the project cost for now is $5.23 million. But there is a significant element that I want to talk about a little bit, is the delays caused by Comcast. Come on.
Those were last year's delays, right?
Those are RAST. Exactly, Mayor. So this is also a cost that is directly paid by the village, not to IDOT. All other costs we are paying to IDOT, and they are paying to the contractor. We do not have a contract with the contractor. The construction engineering services, which is provided by Baxter and Woodman, we signed a contract for $394,000 last year. That was their agreement, but due to Comcast delays, they are asking for another $92,000, so that will make the total cost to the village at $486,000, where the total project cost to us would be $3.04 million. Come on.
So my request here is to push back on two things. Engineering costs, the $92,000, exactly what were the costs related to that delay, as opposed to we're used to getting blank checks whenever things are delayed. So I'd push back on that $92,000, and then I'd also push back on Comcast.
So, Mayor, there are a few other costs. This is exactly the slide I wanted to show it to you. The project was supposed to complete last year in November 2020, and then it got delayed to this year in August 2021. So when last year, when we shut down the project, we had to close the project and keep the project in a condition that can stay operational and safe during the winter time. So that was an added cost of $70,000 in 2020. We have an additional cost of $110,000 this year because of the delays, salary increases, and material costs at $110,000 and then $92,000, as I mentioned. So the project is incurring, at least at this time, we'll finalize these numbers as we get close to it, at $272,000 from Comcast delays.
Well, you're saying Comcast delays, but you're saying here that Comcast is working within the project limits.
Comcast is still working within the project limit. They should be out of the project limit so that we can wrap up the project.
Okay. All right.
So they are still.
So we need to address these costs with Comcast as well as the other agencies, because, no offense, but I'm very accustomed to it went into 2021, so now we got a blank check, and so they did that 272 might be 130, not 272 in actual cost. So I think we need to push back on first the charges, but then also Comcast to recover those charges.
So previously, this matter was before the board, and we are going to be requesting reimbursement from Comcast. The contract extensions were before this board, as well as discussion regarding that reimbursement. So that's the plan.
Okay.
This is a list of work that has already been completed. I'll give you a few seconds to take a look at it. If you have any questions on any specific item, I can answer those.
You can go to the next slide.
Okay. Come on. Work is in progress. Roundabout with the decorative colored stamped concrete is in progress. We have been able to actually open that intersection, and no restriction to traffic right now. That is the good part on it, but the site, it is still a construction site. Most of the work that is being done is asphalt related, or pavement marking and all of those. That will be coming a little bit later, but we are looking to wrap up this project at the end of August in terms of traffic use, but we still have some work to be done later this year and early next year. Come on. My slide is stuck here, but I just wanted to show you this picture. This is the 151st and West Avenue. You can see we have created a roundabout so that we can work in the middle where the barrels are, but the traffic can still circulate throughout this as a traffic circle or a traffic roundabout. So that is the current condition outside. the equipment is currently removing pavement in the middle where the roundabout will be placed. Weather dependent, our project should wrap up in August. Remaining work that for this year will be done in August and September, but there are some trees that will be planted in next year because of IDOT's restriction on the planting season. So, but for all practical purposes, the project will be done at the end of August or early September.
So IDOT has restrictions now in September and October to planting trees and shrubs?
Yeah, they require some of those trees. Those are trees and shrubs that they must be planted in spring and not in fall.
Okay, so that's new from the last, that's got to be relatively recent.
It was new for us as well, so we're just following what because it's their project, they control it.
Got it.
Just a humor from our fire department, I don't know if you can see that. Last year, they had that you're going the wrong way on the sign that you can see there. So that's all I have. If you have any question that I can answer.
That's the funniest thing you're going to get from an
It's nice to see the
engineer.
Fire Protection District has a little bit of humor. Not used to that.
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Milani, or Trustee Milani.
So now you're starting.
That's my attempt at humor.
Understand we probably have some lessons learned here, and I'm guessing that, with utilities or with Comcast, this is not the first time we've experienced this type of thing. I noticed in the notes that they were notified in February, but they didn't come to the March meeting. They didn't come to the meeting in later on in May. Do we have lessons learned on how we can further escalate this right away? Because it seems to me like we got 6 months down the road, and then it delayed us on construction as a result of this. Are there things that we're going to be doing differently when we see this happen in the future?
So the thing about utilities messing up construction projects is it's lore. I mean, it happens in every project. Staff and our consultants, we do everything humanly possible to get them going. I think this year, when they get the bill, hopefully it'll get their attention. It's usually not Comcast that's the problem. It's usually one of the other utilities that's the problem. And in my past experience, and everyone else has had experience with them, usually when we can get them to pony up, we kind of get their attention. So we're going to keep doing everything we can, short of physically getting out there and making them do it.
Understood. Do we usually recover our losses?
In my experience, in my previous experience, yes. This is a very large loss, so we'll see how we do. And it was with a different utility, so we'll see how it goes with Comcast.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yes.
Debt Service Program, update on current debt issues and plans of finance.
Well, good evening. Bob Lewis from our financial advisory firm, PMA, is here. He's going to provide a brief overview of a couple bond issues that are ripe for refinancing or different financing opportunities. So I'll turn it over to Bob, and Bob, I'll click the slides.
Okay, well, thank you for having me here tonight. Some of this we already previously discussed earlier this year when we did the larger bond financings as something that will be coming up later in the year. So as a reminder, you have bonds outstanding for a variety of different purposes and paid from a variety of different sources. Specifically tonight, we're going to be talking about the 2013 C bonds and the 12B bonds. Both are paid from TIF proceeds, either TIF annual revenues, the ground lease, or the funds that came through the liquidation of the project a few years ago. This is just a reminder, we do have plans for additional borrowings for capital projects the next few years. This is this summary of that, which really isn't part of tonight's plan. Tonight's are just related to the TIF financings, but there'll be more to come on additional projects in a few months as we continue to work with the administration. So the 2013 C bonds, you have about $8.6 million of those remaining. 6.3 million of those are callable on December 1st of this year. And what that means is you can pay them off, refinance them on the call date. And the anticipation is that you would pay these off and refinance them with a new bond issue, similar like you would do with a home mortgage, and also what you did with a financing earlier this year. The average interest rate on the bonds that you would call is just above 2%, so it's a pretty low interest rate already. It gives you an idea of how low interest rates are in today's market. As I already mentioned, these are payable from TIF revenues. The next slide gives you a summary of the estimated savings. So you have a series of column of numbers here. The first column of numbers is what we estimate the new payments will be after they're sold. You know, unlike your home mortgage where you can just tell whoever you're working with to lock the rate in, you can't lock this rate in until you actually sell the bonds. So that's our current estimate right now. The next column is the payment that's actually due on December 1st. You're just making that one as scheduled. Add that together to get the net new debt service, compare that to the current debt service, and then the yellow column is the savings, is what we estimate. And the payment reduction would be roughly $45,000 per year for a total of $232,000. Present value of that is pretty close to that. It's about $225,000. So the way that would benefit you then is the amount of TIF revenues and ground lease revenues that you would have to use to service that related debt would be reduced, which would free up $45,000 for other uses within the TIF fund. Now, the 2012 B bonds are also callable on December 1st, but we're not talking about issuing new bonds to pay those off. If you may recall, in connection with the Triangle TIF area, you had 4 bullet maturities that were structured in anticipation of redeeming those with the payment that you received. 2 of those bullet maturities will be paid off this December when they're scheduled to mature. One of those is refinanced earlier this year to be paid back over the remaining term of the TIF and a little bit beyond the term of the TIF with the ground lease revenues. And then there's the 4th bullet that is due December 1st of 22. And that is, as I mentioned, callable on December 1st of 21, but you already have the funds from the sale of or from the funds that came from the developer in your debt service fund to make that payment on December 1st of 2022. Well, the rate that you'll be paying from December 1st, 2021, from when they become callable to when they mature on December 1st of 22 is 2.25%. Well, those funds, as they're sitting in that debt service account, is not earning anywhere near 2.25%. So what we recommended to the administration is to just take those funds that are already there and call these bonds in and pay them off 1 year early, eliminating 1 year's worth of interest that you would have paid at 2.25%. So what you have before you tonight are 2 ordinances. One is an ordinance to refinance and refund the 13C bonds, which you wouldn't, again, lock that rate into. You'd sell those bonds. We currently anticipate the sale date to be August 9th. And then the other ordinance is to redeem, or defease is another term that we use, the 2012 bonds on December 1st of this year. You would send out a call notice to your investors on November 1st, letting them know that you are redeeming their bonds. And then on December 1st, you'll receive an invoice for that final payment, and then you'd use the current funds on hand to pay off that maturity. So that is the sum of the presentation that I have here tonight. Any questions from the board?
So what will we save from paying the bonds? What's the interest that we'll save with the remaining principal that's outstanding on that?
Yeah, the one you're paying off early?
Yeah, the one we're paying off a year early.
Let's see. I know you had that written in the memo. It was $180,000 in interest cost. I believe that was the gross amount of interest. Now, you are giving up some interest earnings on that money for a year, but the interest that you're earning on that is pretty low right now because that's liquid money, which is not earning very much.
Any questions?
And everything we're doing tonight was all part of the plan that we had discussed during our budget workshops.
So broadly speaking, this is part of the plan that we put in place previously. I mean, this just makes sense. We've got low interest rates right now, and it's something we have to think about actually for our capital financing going forward. Is we're historically low interest rates, probably going to rise. So what should we be doing, in the next year to set ourselves up so we're not getting into a higher interest rate environment?
Right.
So, okay, great.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Is there anybody here to speak at the Committee of the Whole? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye. We'll start the board meeting at 7:30, give everyone a chance to take a little bit of a break. Sorry for the length of the Committee of the Whole, but, apparently staff just saved them all for one meeting. But these updates were very important, so thanks a lot, and see you in 10 minutes.
Trustee Malani?
Here.
Trustee Compass?
Here.
Trustee Reardon?
Here.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Here.
Mayor Peacock?
Here.
Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the June 29th, 2021 special meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani.
move to approve the minutes of the Board of Trustees special meeting of June 29th, 2021.
Second.
Any changes? Call the roll.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye.
Approval of the July 6, 2021 regular meeting minutes.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Rashevsky.
I move to approve the minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting on July 6, 2021.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye.
Proclamation honoring Diagrind as Orland Park Business of the Month, July 2021.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes. Trustee Rashevsky.
are we supposed to?
Yeah, I know. So tonight we'll be honoring, we're starting back up our Business of the Month, which kind of stopped during COVID. Not because we didn't have a lot of great businesses, but they were kind of knee-deep in a lot of other stuff during COVID. So tonight we are going to honor Diagrind as the Orland Park Business of the Month. Whereas Orland Park's Diagrind is owned and operated by Mike Summer. It first operated in Allsip, Illinois in 1975 by his grandfather and father, Peter and Donald Summer. The company moved to Orland Park in 1984, and whereas Diagrind began in the mind of Ingolf Sneva, where Sneva was looking for a better way to grind his carbon dyes and combining recently developed industrial diamond and self-dressing resilient bonding matrix known as vitreous material, VM, he established the base of a recipe for a company that is still in business today. And whereas Sneva wanted to preserve his creation and his particular requirement of selling his recipe was that a father-son team be the buyer, and whereas Peter and Donald Summer were the perfect father-son team to purchase his recipe, and they also brought with them an extensive manufacturing background. Pete was vice president at Size Control in Elgin, and Don worked for him in the shop. And whereas Diagrind manufactures super abrasive grinding tools, and initially the business offered only diamond tools, Diagrind expanded when General Electric synthesized cubic boron nitride as the second hardest material on Earth, and thusly created an abrasive that ground the hardest steel with the same effectiveness as diamond ground carbide. And whereas specializing in smaller tools and parameters required to properly and effectively execute tough internal grinding jobs, Diagrind fits into a niche with expertise that few other companies can match. Okay. And whereas Mike Summer's father, Don, retired after 35 years at the helm, Mike Summer stepped into his father's position, continuing, if I can get to the next page, continuing the father-son team that Sneva embraced. To this day, Mike's father, mother, and sister hold shares of the company. And whereas Diagrind has always been a family-owned and run business, Mike Summer has been with the company full-time since graduating college in 1996. He took over in 2005 and still brings the same passion for excellence that has allowed Diagrind to flourish for his entire tenure. Now, therefore, I, Keith Peacock, Village President of the Village of Orland Park, Illinois, and the counties of Cook and Will, do hereby extend the gratitude of the entire community to Diagrind for more than 45 years of serving the community, and hereby proclaim Diagrind with Orland Park's Business of the Month, July 2021. like to add is I have toured the facility, and it's amazing how tiny these pieces are. And you know, one of the things that I've seen in my business career, consulting, and also, you know, in the landscape industry, is it never ceases to amaze me how many small manufacturing companies that make things that you need every day or go into something that you use every day and you have no idea exists. And this is one of those companies. So I'd really like to congratulate the family for and thank you for staying here, and also thank you for staying open during COVID, keeping people working, and being a great Orland Park company. And then I'm going to come up here and we're going to take some photos, and then we will come and deliver your award at your place of business, and bring the beer for that too.
Sure, why not?
Congratulations. Thank you, sir. Anything you want to add about Orland Park?
Well, one of the main reasons that we wanted to be here at Orland Park, as far as I was concerned, was when our kids were in high school and grammar school, I never had to miss a soccer game. I never had to miss a drama. Anything. I was always close to those when I had a family. That was very important to us. And, you know, we've done well.
The lifeblood of the community. We're a community full of, you don't have to go very far down the Range Road to see every corporate retail restaurant and retail store in America practically this year. But the lifeblood of Orland Park and any community are small businesses like yourself, just a small manufacturing business, home businesses, local, state, and all of the community to be able to not only employ people, but also to be involved in the community. So that's the lifeblood of all the community. So thank you very much for being in Orland Park and staying in Orland Park for almost 4 years. Sure. All right, thanks a lot.
Accounts payable approval.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Healy.
I move to approve the accounts payable from July 7th, 2021 through July 19th, 2021 in the amount of $1,756,426.87.
Second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky.
Aye.
Mayor Peacock.
Aye.
Consent agenda.
Consent agenda, item A, payroll approval. Item B, Glen B. Boley Farm petition for a certificate of appropriateness for demolition and major changes to the farmhouse and other structures. Item C, 143rd Street widening, Seabells contract modification amendment number 3. Item D, disposal of decommissioned information technology equipment ordinance. Item E, professional engineering services 2021 MWRD compliance RJN master agreement proposal. Item F, intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Orland Park and the Orland Park Fire Protection District concerning administrative adjudication approval. Item G, Silver Lake West Main Replacement Phase 1 and 82nd Avenue lining bid. Item H, September 5th, 2021 Centennial Park West Stage Sound Lights and Labor. Item I, an ordinance authorizing the development of a financing plan for general obligation refunding bond series 2021C and redemption and payment prior to the maturity of the general obligation refunding bond series 2020-12B. Item J, an ordinance providing for the issuance of not to exceed $6,500,000 general obligation refunding bonds of the Village of Orland Park, Cook and Will Counties, Illinois, for the purpose of refunding certain outstanding bonds of said village, providing for the levy and collection of a direct annual tax sufficient to pay the principal and interest on said bonds, authorizing the execution of an escrow agreement in connection with the issue of said bonds, and authorizing the sale of said bonds to the purchaser thereof. Can I have some oxygen, please? Item K, ordinance providing for the redemption and payment prior to the maturity of $8,025,000 taxable general obligation refunding bond series 2012B of the Village of Orland Park, Cook and Will Counties, Illinois. Item L, insurance brokerage consulting services contract. Item M, an ordinance amending Title 7, Chapter 1, Section 7-1-12 of the Orland Park Village Code with regards to the conduct of business licensees. Item L will need to be taken off of the consent agenda, as I have a conflict of interest, as does Trustee Reardon. Mine is due to the fact that Horton is a client of mine, so therefore I can't vote on that. So I'll entertain a motion to approve on the consent agenda items A through K and M.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Pika?
Aye.
Insurance brokerage consulting services contract.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Healy.
I move to approve awarding a 5-year contract with the option to renew at the village's discretion for up to 4 additional years to the Horton Group for insurance brokerage and consulting services related to the village's liability, property, and employee benefit insurance programs in the amount not to exceed $74,600 for each of the first 5 years for a total cost of $373,000, and approve the village manager to execute an agreement with the Horton Group for insurance brokerage and consulting services subject to attorney review.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
I need to recuse myself.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
So that would be abstain.
Abstain.
And the reason?
A business conflict as well with a different part of Horton's group.
Okay. Mayor Pika?
Abstain. I have a business conflict with a different group as well.
167th Street multi-use path, Steeplechase Parkway to 104th Street, Phase 2, final design engineering services consultant recommendation.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani.
move to approve awarding 167th Street multi-use path, Steeplechase Parkway to 104th Street, Phase 2, final design engineering services contract to Civil Tech in an amount not to exceed $249,989, and authorize the village manager to execute all related contracts subject to village attorney review.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
No.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Pika?
Aye.
(9/11) commemoration ceremony.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Compass.
I move to approve hosting a ceremony to commemorate the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks in conjunction with the Veterans Commission, the Orland Fire Protection District, and the Orland Park Police Department on September 11th, 2021 at 10 a.m. at the Ara Pace Memorial.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Pika?
Aye.
Acceptance of the fiscal year 2020 comprehensive annual, financial report approval.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Healy.
I move to approve accepting the fiscal year 2020 comprehensive annual financial report ending December 31st, 2020.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Healy.
I've read through most of that report, and I think it's done in a very professional and a good way. I think it's a good representation. I think BKD has done a great job in doing it. They were available to answer a lot of questions, and thanks to Kevin and George and the rest of the staff for helping them get together. Out of this 200-some page, it seems like 200 pages of reports, there's one number in particular which gets me as a professional accountant, and that is the idea of pension reform accounting, and that during the last, on page XXII, it says during the fiscal year 2015 through 2018, the village implemented 3 financial accounting statements that changed, that had the effect, and these 3 changes in accounting rules had the effect of giving us, hitting the financial statements for $46,546,000 of pension and other retirement costs. This has been a hit to our financial statements and all other financial statements across the U.S., and it's just a reflective of the extremely high pension liability, and thanks to BKD, we're reflecting all of this in our financial statements, and we should see that reflected in all the other statements too. It's just something to note in this financial statement that I found astounding that we could have digested that hit and we're still in pretty good financial state. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments? So I appreciate all the work that goes into this. This is, and it's very transparent to the public. They can look through this. And the village has always been transparent with this and has always showed this information. So this predates all of us. Clearly the last 4 years, or last year, was very challenging from a financial perspective with COVID, and yet still, if you look at the last 4 years, we've dropped our debt load significantly, and we've lowered our operating expenses. We've done a lot to shore up our financials, to put us in a good position to allow us to do the things we talked about earlier in the cow, which is spend more money on our parks, more money on our roads, and catch up on some of the things we're behind on. So, good job by the boards, over the last 4 years to start redirecting some of what we were doing. You saw the bond refinancing there, and you would have seen, if you saw the cow, that we took an $8 million hit getting out of 9750. 9750 was hurt a lot. It hurt us about $8 million. Which we knew we wouldn't be paying for until after the bonds matured. But we're in a better spot to not be an owner of that building. So, and still at the end of the day, we still managed to take all of that debt off the books. So I think, again, congratulations to the board and the board of the last 4 years for getting all that work done. Call the roll.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye.
Amend Title VII, Chapter 4, Number of Class B Liquor License Ordinance.
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Malani.
Move to adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending Title VII, Chapter 4 of the Orland Park Municipal Code regarding the available number of Class B liquor licenses issued by the Village of Orland Park, Cook and Will Counties, Illinois.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye.
Amend Title VII, Chapter 4, Number of Class A Liquor License Ordinance.
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Compass.
I move to adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending Title VII, Chapter 4 of the Orland Park Municipal Code regarding the available number of Class A liquor licenses issued by the Village of Orland Park, Cook and Will Counties, Illinois.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye.
Are there any non-scheduled citizens or visitors?
Okay.
Board comments.
Trustee Healy?
My comment tonight is that I attended the Market in the Park last Thursday, and it was wonderful. The staff put on a so comfortable show that everybody seemed so relaxed in their roles at the Market in the Park that it was just great. The music and everything was wonderful too, and just coincided with great weather. And I've also, although I didn't make it to the concert last night, I've had about a number of people come up to me and say what a great event that was. So I hope we can't have enough of them. So thanks to the staff for doing a great job with that. Thanks.
Trustee Katsinas?
And just to go along with what Bill said, in addition to the last concert Sunday, we also had a very successful cookout with the cops. It was very well attended. You saw a lot of young kids there, a lot of deputized sheriffs there, little ones. Really was a nice event. So thank you for all that attended. Also, there was members of the Orland Park Police Department that participated in this year's Concern for Police Survivors. It's called acronym COPS. It's a 370-mile bike ride across Illinois where the cops step up, the organization steps up and assists those whose lives have been shattered by somebody making the ultimate sacrifice. So they did an excellent job representing Orland, and we thank the officers, all of them from Orland and others that participated in that. Thank you.
Trustee Malani?
Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. Just want to remind everybody that Taste of Orland Park is coming soon. Please join us on August 6th through the 8th for a great weekend of events. There's also a drive-in movie, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, coming on July 31st, and our Market in the Park is going to continue for another month. The last one will be August 19th. Also, a few meetings ago, we discussed bringing barbecue competitions to Orland Park. I guess that's materialized. The Sons of the American Legions will be hosting their competition on August 21st at Crescent Park. You can visit their website at summersalutebarbecue.com for more information. So hope you'll attend, and thank you all for coming.
Trustee Compass?
So for those of you that celebrate Eid al-Adha, I hope that you have a very blessed holiday, and I hope I managed to say that correctly. Orland Park had a big week this week for social gatherings with 2 events, as others have already mentioned, with the police department and 2 free concerts. Last night's concert with the Four C Notes was a great time and very well attended. It's very wonderful to see everyone outside again and enjoying the evening. Thank you to the investigations department for all that they do and all the other leadership involved in putting together the police events, and to Doreen Bila on the rec group for putting together our free concert series, and everyone that helps and supports her as well. Tomorrow, just as a reminder, is the Veterans Tuesday at the Park, featuring 5 Guys Named Joe as entertainment. I believe this is our last one for this year, so please come out and celebrate all of our veterans with some live entertainment, and a big thank you to the Veterans Commission for launching this program this year. For my usual update, I'm building on our strengths. Orland Park has an excellent aquatic center. Not just in the facilities, but especially in the people that manage the complex operations and the young adults that keep our guests safe. I had the distinct privilege of attending the annual Guard Games this last week. I don't know that I can name too many other professional training and evaluation events where the participants look forward to participating as much as I saw there. This program reinforces the training, focus, and discipline required to be a lifeguard. When I saw the first team compete in these games that night, it initially looked like chaos to me. And that was the point. The supervisors create scenarios that require responses, and they do it all at once while throwing a lot of distractions at these teams while they perform their jobs. What I saw after a moment of getting over the planned chaos was how professional and efficient the young adults that monitor our pools are. They perform multiple saves from deep water, practice CPR on adults and children, responded to seizures, etc. It was a lot. But it taught me a great deal about our excellent leadership at the pool. There's no doubt in my mind that they are developing future leaders in our community. And so with that said, I'd like to thank that team, starting with the manager, Brett Sprague, the assistant manager, Brittany Jaden, the assistant managers, Amy Malanafi, Beth Malanafi, Dana Weiner, Roberto Vasquez, Mara O'Connor, Squad 1, Anthony Hansler, Amanda Pavick, Jenna Shaheen, Emma Shea. Squad 2, Lisa Chelsla, Finbar Haran, Taylor Villa, Ali Strobosher. Squad 3, Martin Blake and Delia Dome, Jamie Reka, Maddie Norbut, Sawyer Hobbs. And thank you to Ray for the rec department. That's it.
Trustee Reardon.
Thanks. This past week, I had a chance, so I went to the concert last night, not for the whole thing, but I was there for a while, and it was fantastic. Weather was great. On that note, the next 10 days look like they're going to be great, so get out and enjoy Orland Park. Whatever you can get out and do. Looks like we'll have some good weather for a while. I also stopped by the Orland Park Law Enforcement Organization barbecue. I wasn't there very long, but what I really hit home is how it's difficult to be a law enforcement any agency these days, and to see them in their element, seeing each other from other organizations. There were Chicago police, there were other towns police there, and relaxed, enjoying themselves, their family. It hit home that these guys and men and women go through a lot, and their families go through a lot. And then reading our briefing and seeing all the various things that our police are doing on a week-to-week or month-to-month basis in terms of what goes on in and around Orland Park. So it was very nice to see, and I'm definitely going to try to get out to another one and be able to stay a little bit longer. So enjoy the next 10 days of no rain, hopefully.
Yay.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Like the rest of the board said, we've had a lot of really great events, very well attended, wonderful weather. We still have some additional events that will be happening throughout the rest of the summer. Get out there and enjoy them while while we can, because summers are short. Follow us on social media so that way you kind of can stay abreast on those programs that are coming. But I also wanted to again congratulate Digrind for being a business here for so many decades, and that it is important. Keith mentioned how it's the lifeblood, but it is, small business is big business, and it really is what keeps us going. So, thank you to all the businesses that have, stayed here and made it through COVID. And, we welcome new businesses, to join us here in Orland Park. But I also want to just reiterate to everybody just to, patronize those businesses, keep them running, it's what's best for everybody, just the economic development for Orland Park.
Thank you. And I'll close, so I'll start with, I want to point out we had a press release that went out of someone who had stolen over and over and over again thousands of dollars from stores in Orland Park, caught over and over and over again, ankle monitoring. Thankfully, a judge finally, no bond. So I want to applaud that judge for stepping up and doing that, because it took multiple incidents before they finally did that. And I know the chief is happy that they finally said, okay, enough. How many, I think it was almost a total of $10,000 in merchandise altogether between all the thefts. So it's like, how many does it take? And, oh, by the way, they charged multiple times, which means Cook County charged them. So that the evidence is pretty high. So I want to thank that judge for stepping up. Also, Taste of Orland is coming up. I will warn everyone, there is a little bit lower participation from our restaurants, only like 11, I think, or so, and that is not because they're not interested, it is because they cannot get employees, and so they can't run their restaurant and the taste at the same time. So it's a function of, quite frankly, a policy that is basically encouraging people to stay home rather than returning to work. So it'll be, hopefully we'll have just as many people attend as we did 2 years ago, but you'll have a little bit longer lines at the food locations, and but there will still be, I think, 10 or 11 restaurants out there, so it still should be a great time. We have great music lineup, so it'll be fantastic. I also want to point out, this is not Orland Park related, but I think it speaks to everything that's going on. I was at the Sox game yesterday, where we had a one-hitter, and that was thrown. But what I found interesting is the attendance was 34,000. 34,000 people enjoying a baseball game. Kids enjoying a baseball game. And I think I saw two patrons, only one patron in a mask. Everyone was making their own choices. How wonderful that we were just out there enjoying a baseball game normally, without a bunch of restrictions for who comes to the game, who doesn't come to the game, who goes up to get something to eat, etc. 6 feet apart in line. All that. It was absolutely normal. So, I think that speaks volumes when we can start to have those events in Chicago. Then I think that speaks to what, is going on everywhere else. And I want to thank, again, the 3 holdover trustees as well as staff for all they did the last year to allow Orland Park to be as normal as possible through all this. I'm really looking forward to a taste and a concert series that is completely normal without devoid of all of these different things that we had to do last year to host them safely. A concert series also coming up August 14th. And September 5th as well. Tickets are still available. We've sold more tickets than we've ever sold for them, so it's going to be a great event, going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully the odds are that we're not going to get rain again since we lost one. So also there are free music events like we talked about. We have the Veterans tomorrow night. We have Market in the Park. We just had our concert in the park last night, which was phenomenal. It was the most people I've ever seen. In fact, I think there were so many people I don't think we're going to be able to host it at that location anymore. I think we're going to have to move it over to Centennial as well, just because there were that many people there. There had to be over 1,000 people at that event. So great job by staff. I appreciate it. And just for everyone in Orland Park, we have 17 free music events besides the paid concert series. So there's a lot of places to go out and enjoy music in Orland Park. So thank you very much. With that, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Compass.
I move to go into executive session for A, approval of minutes, B, setting a price for sale or lease of village property, C, pending litigation against, affecting, or on behalf of the village, or when found by the board that such action is probable or imminent, D, collective negotiating matters between the village and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski? Aye. Mayor Peacock?
Aye. Have a good night, everybody.
Are we staying here? I think we are.